I'm going to speak about Orientalism in classical music and generally looking at classical music and what I actually call Western art music or sometimes European art music from a post-colonial perspective. And it's not just a few pieces written in the 19th century which are Orientalist. My argument is actually that it's much deeper than that, that it has quite a bit to do with the collection of material that is non-Western and how that material is disseminated in academia. So what we loosely term as ethnomusicology, and how we sort of take those principles of studying non-Western music and basically transmute them into a kind of study of the non-West in Western universities, and primarily in Europe and the United States. But that's not a new argument. I mean, this is an argument that Kofi Agawu had in the 80s and 90s. I take it a little bit closer to the Middle East. I look a little bit at my own practice of Coptic chant, transcription and work and scholarship, which is the native Christian chant system of Egypt. I also do look at the performance tradition of classical music as it is today in the current day. And I sort of argue that performance tradition, which is largely still a kind of simulacrum of the 19th century, has built into it some implicit biases and prejudicial structures that are holdovers from 19th century European imperialism. Aida is one of the more blatant examples of Orientalism in classical music, in 19th century classical music. And it's, again, this is not a new argument. This is something that Edward Said writes about in Culture and Imperialism. As a matter of fact, it's one of the few examples of Orientalism that he cites in music. And Aida is an interesting case study because of what it meant politically for the time then when it was written in the second half of the 19th century, and what it has continued to mean in Egypt to the current day. Because what's fascinating about Aida is that even though it was written by an Italian opera composer who had never gone to Egypt, had never had any wish to go to Egypt, and was commissioned by a non-Egyptian, effectively, ruler of Egypt who is trying to sort of sow some autonomous oats against the Ottoman Empire, Khedive Ismail, who also was kind of trying to be proto-European at the same time. With all of these details, the music of Aida still is enormously influential in political, economic, and socially today in Egypt. So it's very influential through multiple levels of Egyptian culture. So it's a fascinating study.